everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jeff Infante with Real Estate Talk Today. And again, I have my partners here, Josh DeBassard and Jenny Clemens. And guys, how you guys been, by the way?
Good.
Yeah?
Good.
Nice. So we're going to talk about something a little bit different. We always got something different, which is why we keep it entertaining. And we're going to focus a little bit about the multifamilies, right? And before we get into the multifamilies, I want to show the audience out there the interest rates historically, how it's been performing. So if we look at the actual chart, if we look from 1970 all the way down to 2010, I mean, you can see there very clearly how low the interest rates are still. And I think they fell now today, they actually fell in the 2%, 2.5, 2.7, and we've seen that, right? So now taking that into consideration, it's very important for those folks that are looking to now purchase this multifamily, right? Because now you're able to obtain a mortgage at a 3%, a 2.5, 2.7%, right? And still able to get ahead, all right? So before we dive into things, right, let's talk about a little bit of the experiences that you guys had.
Personal experiences?
Personal experiences, right?
Sure, let's do it.
With properties you have bought in multifamilies, and that way they can hear what you. So what was your experience when you bought your property, your first investment?
Well, honestly, guys, I don't know if many of you know this, but I'm actually a military veteran, so I used the VA loan to purchase my first home. And what I did was I purchased a 3-family first, and in a span of 2 years, I went from owning nothing to owning 3 properties in like almost like a shotgun effect.
Yeah.
So the first one was a 3-family, and then I basically refinanced to take some of the equity out of it because I had bought it for a great deal, this property. And after that, I took that money and I purchased a 2-family, conventional. Even though I could have actually bought another one, VA. So there's a little trick that I learned throughout the years of doing real estate that I could have technically bought 3-family, then a 2-family, and then a single family using all my VA or an owner-occupant style loan. Because all I gotta do is show incentives that I'm gonna be living in the property, as you guys know.
Right.
And of course, if I'm leaving a 3-family going to a bigger property, better parking, better school district, things like that, it's obvious reasons I'm gonna be moving in and living in this space.
Nice.
Right.
So that's basic. What I did was I bought the house next to the first one I bought. And then I also used the VA loan again once more to buy a single family. So in the span of 2 years, I owned 3 homes. Just like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome. You want to share any of your
Yeah.
experience?
So I bought my first house, and I bought a 2-family. And it's crazy because back then, 2001, the interest rate was like 6.2. That's what I got. So
Yeah.
when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that's
there's people still
actually
complaining.
accurate. I was like, that's actually accurate because that's what I paid. And I remember back then, I was like, they were like, oh, that's a great interest rate.
Right.
You know, because it was used to be like 8 and 10%.
Right.
So 6% was really good. And now people complain when they're paying 3 or 4, right?
Yeah.
Today, right? Isn't it crazy?
That's why I show the chart, right?
Yeah.
So they can see that, because those are real numbers.
Yeah, so then after I refinanced. But yeah, I bought my 2-family. I lived in the first floor and I rented the second floor. And I used to pay $575 a month on rental.
Yeah.
Like I used to rent. And then the difference I was gonna pay for my mortgage was $500. So I was already saving $75.
Right, wow.
And then my plan was, then I fixed the basement. That's an extra income.
Right,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
so,
right.
so to me, that was like the best thing I did.
Yeah, no,
you
that's
know?
awesome. So we call that, what do they call that? House hacking.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
what they call it. So for those that are listening, right, if you are new to this or you are looking to jump into investment properties or whatever the case is, right, there's that house hacking method where you live in one unit and then you allow the renters to pay off your mortgage while you're living pretty much for nothing.
Right.
Right? And now you can save that money up and then hold that and then invest it into another property, which is what people are doing.
Right.
Right. If you're smart, you do it right, then it plays out great. Right.
Right.
So people can do this with an FHA loan, right, which requires 3.5% down, which is
Right.
probably the best option right now that you can possibly get. So you find a 3 or 4-plex, and I recommend going for I think FHA allows up to 4 families.
Yeah.
So and VA allows up to
NVA
4.
4 families.
Yes.
So go for the 4, right? Go for that 4 unit. And then start to generate cash flow out of that.
Right.
So get the FHA loan, or if you go conventional, we got some money, which the conventional requires you to put 20%, in some banks 30%, depending
25,
on
yep.
what banks are there. So you guys want to talk a little bit about that, or
Specifically conventional or
of
what did I say?
FHA and conventional?
Okay, well, I know there's so many things that you don't know as the client or the consumer, if you will, and it's very important that you talk to us experienced agents who actually not only know the industry and are familiar with what the market's doing, but I've used these little tricks that we've learned throughout the years to our advantage to help our investments. And I know I like to pay it forward as well, and I know you two are the same way.
Right.
So we like to pay it forward and educate our clients, especially if I find a client who is like willing to do that, willing to take on properties, willing to be a landlord, willing to be an investor, I'm all in. I am going to sit there and take the time I need with you to educate you and get you to that same goal.
Right.
Because I understand that it's not for everybody. Not everybody wants to be a landlord. But when I hear you're up for it, let's do this. I'm game. Game on. You know.
Right.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
another thing I want to say about the conventional, I know right now we're talking about multifamilies, right? But let's say you already have a 2 or 3 or 4 unit, and you have FHA, and now you want to buy another unit. You could do conventional, a single family, and it's just 5%, even though we're talking about multi.
Right.
But that's another way of having another property. You know what I
Right.
mean? 5% instead of
Exactly.
20 or 25% if
Right.
you don't have that money.
Now, I can't stress enough, but and to the public I'm speaking right now, is I know we're throwing a lot of numbers at you guys, but it's important to just reach out to us, have a conversation so you understand, because what she's saying is if you're already in a 3-family or 4-family and you want to buy that single family conventional, it's going to be considered an owner occupied space, so they bring that instead of a 20 to 25% that they're going to charge you for investment property, they're going to just expect you to put 5% down or
Right.
even 3% down for
Right.
conventional.
Nice. So I think the first thing is, because right now, so let's switch it up a little bit. So we have a lot of this whole thing, this whole notion now with flipping properties, right, and all this
Yeah.
and all this great stuff, right? Thanks to HDTV, right? So, but there is a process for that, and I think everyone should start with an agent, right?
Yes.
As yourselves,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Contact an agent. It's free.
Right.
It's free. An agent can help you, can guide you, and also can direct you, right?
I'm gonna be
which
reckless.
is nice.
I'm gonna be specific. Contact us, not an agent.
Yes.
Contact us.
That's right.
Being a little reckless today.
We've been doing this long enough, and we have the experience you guys need.
so which is great. So first thing is contact us, right? And start to receive the insights of how to do this, right? The right approach. There's a book by David Green. It's called the BRRRR, right? BRRRR, BRRRR, right? The method. And basically what it stands for is you buy, you rehab, you rent it, refi, and repeat, right? So I want to talk a little about that, right? So, and I can apply this because I'm using this method and it's working wonders, right? So here I am, I find a property that's distressed, right? Either through auction or foreclosure, whatever the case is, right? Not a pretty house, one of those ugly houses, right? So in my particular case, I bought one for, I think it was 210. I paid for it. I went through a private lender, right? But because I built my relationship with this private lender, you're able to get certain benefits, either 100% financing or depending how it is, if you've done, so many deals under that individual, they just loaned you the money, right? So in this case, I was able to get the property. I paid the closing costs, which was about, I don't know, maybe $12,000 in closing costs, points, etc. And then I used my own money, which in turn I end up taking out a second note afterwards to fill in that money that I paid out to fix up the property.
Right.
So I think in repairs, it was like $39,000 in repairs. And then I was able to get the lender to reimburse me back that money so that I can use that somewhere else. So what I did was, once I was done with the property, the value went up. Right. So the value's worth more because you remodel, you do the kitchens, the bathrooms, the floors, et cetera, right? Windows, all that good stuff. And now I bought it at 216, and now the property is worth almost 400,000. Okay. So now when you're gonna go refinance, there's some banks, they do 70% loan to value, 80% loan to value, depending on your FICO score, all that stuff, right? So now you're pretty much able to refinance that property, right, into a regular low interest rate.
Right.
And then you got that locked in. Now you go on to the next and repeat the same thing over and over again, right? And sometimes if the property has enough equity in there, you can do a cash out refinance, get your money back out, leave that fully rented, and go on to the next and use that money over and over and over again. So you're using the money's working for you, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about a little bit of when you look at a rehab property, what things do you look for when you go in? Like, what's the things that add value to the properties when you go in, and what's that first thing that clicks to your mind?
Jenny, I know, because Jenny's a great investor herself, so I know she's thinking already ROI. That's the first thing we all think is return on investment.
Right.
So when I'm looking at a multi or even a single family, honestly, when I'm a numbers guy, so the numbers gotta make sense to me. If the numbers make sense, I'm moving forward with the deal. The first thing, especially if it's your first flip, my recommendation is definitely get an easier one. And what does that mean? I like to look at what I call the central nervous system of a home, you know, and that's always the mechanicals, the plumbing, the electrical, and of course the foundation. So if it has good bones, as they say, I think that's the HGTV's lingo too. If it has good bones and the central nervous system is there, then go for it. That's a great one, because some people are hesitant just because of certain things not being there, or they'll miss that opportunity because they overlook certain things. So I think it's important.
And since you mentioned that goes to one of my experiences I had, right? I went to an auction in Warwick, and I remember there were at least 15 other investors there, right? And what was unique about this auction is some auctions you get to go inside, you get to see real quickly before it starts, and sometimes it's just closed doors, you can't get in. In this particular case, everyone had a quick couple minutes to go right in the property, go through it and analyze everything, right? So I was able to go in. The first thing I checked was the mechanics, electrical, foundation, right? The bones of the property. Checked all that. The rest of the stuff didn't matter. I looked at the layout, just see if I can work with it. Fine. Looked at the bathroom. Fine. Great. And I remember I won that bid. It was for $195. No one else wanted to bid. They thought I was crazy. They thought I bid up too high. I already knew how much I was going to spend in that property. It was about $20,000. That's it, tops, right? So later on, I ended up selling the property for $269. Right, so there was a decent profit. So it took me about under 3 months to get it all finished up. So I did, the kitchen, everything, all that good stuff. The boiler, the mechanics, they had to do nothing with it. So that was great. So I saved a lot of money there, and it was a great investment. Like, it was great. So I remember one of the guys that were there, I guess he was newer, and he reached out to me because he got my number. He says, "Hey, how did you make out with it?" And I was like, "Oh, I did phenomenal." So I told him what I did. He was like, "Wow, that's amazing." He's like, what was your perspective, right? So he picked my brains. And this is why we're sharing this with you guys, is because, we have the experience, we have the knowledge for you guys that are looking to do this. And then I told him what I did and how I analyzed it, and he didn't see it that way.
Right.
He thought completely different, because there was things he had on his list that he could have crossed out that was another additional $6,000-7,000 more than what he was putting on his sheet, which I crossed out, which wasn't necessary, right? So it really came down to really how you look at the project, because every single property is different, and you have to analyze it differently. And that's one thing that, you know, you guys are experts in analyzing the properties and also letting the community know as well that we're here as well to help them analyze the property.
So let me tell you my experience with the flip that I did. So I went in, I saw the house, only needed like $5,000 of work, right? My intention was I was gonna buy it and then fix it up and then sell it.
Right.
But guess what? After I fixed it up, I rented it, and then I decided now I'm gonna hold it.
Right.
I'm gonna hold it because the numbers make sense.
There you
now
go.
I'm gonna be netting $1,200
Nice.
cash flow
Nice.
monthly.
There
So
you
I'm
go.
like, why sell it
Right.
when I
Right.
could just hold it?
That's perfect. See,
You
that's a
know?
perfect example
Yeah.
right
Yep.
there. So, you know, every property is different. And then the other thing too is, I switched my strategy up a little bit. I'm no longer doing much flips. I'm holding long term to build cash flow, right?
Right.
Because think about it. If the way I analyze is if you take your cost of your living, right? And for those that are listening, do this as well. You grab a piece of paper. What does it cost you to live on a monthly basis?
Right.
Right? Some cases might be 5,000, 4,000, or whatever the case is, right? So you use that number. And I'm talking about, you know, your living expenses, right? Your bills, your mortgage, car payment, whatever the case is, food, all that stuff, right? You calculate it, come up with that magic number. That's what it costs me to live my lifestyle. Plug it in. Now, how can you now substitute that? Use property, investment properties.
Right.
Now, not all of them are going to be home runs. There's some that are going to make you 1,000.
Right.
In your case was 1,200. There's some that's going to make you 800. Some are
Right.
going to make you 500
Right.
after paying all the bills and everything, right? But that's okay, because what happens is over time, that property is still generating equity, right? And you're paying it down because you're renting it. And mind you, as we all know, rents are still in the incline. It's
yeah.
still up, right? So that's always going to be a great thing for those who are homeowners. And interest rates are low.
Yes.
Take advantage of that, right? So you have all these factors coming in. So now the question is now, how many properties do you need to buy to substitute that $5,000?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jen.
It's getting
And
interesting.
you know what? It's funny because this morning I knew we were gonna talk something like this, so I sat down and I did the
Yeah.
math, and I'm like, I need
Yeah.
6 more properties
There you go.
to get to my goal.
There you go.
So it's
Right.
good to know
Right,
how
right.
many properties you need.
Awesome.
You
There you
know.
go.
So
Yeah.
yeah, make sure you know
Yeah,
how many
absolutely.
properties
No,
you
absolutely,
need.
right. So yours is 6. So in my case is 5, right? I need 5 properties to replace my current living expense,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So which is great, and everyone is different,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But this is where you start, and then there's a lot of stuff out there too, like, oh, buy with no money down. You know, I mean, you got to be very careful with that. I mean, there is ways around it. There's ways to do it the right way. There's also partnerships too.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you don't have the money, partner up with someone, right? That either, or if you have a partial of money and then he has, then combine it together and then just go on that venture on that first one. And then once you build enough capital, then you can go on your own and then start doing your own thing. And then later decide what to do with those properties, whether to sell it, if it builds enough equity, or just keep the cash flow, split the cash flow, right?
Yeah.
So I'm great we talked about, because this is always
Yeah.
interesting topic. So house hacking and how to replace your current living expense through real estate.
That's what I was going to say. I'm sorry. Let me just plug that in.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that term specifically, what we all are striving to achieve is called financial freedom, financial independency.
Right.
Because there's a difference of being rich and
Right.
financially wealthy.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
Right.
So it's, I mean, you can be in your 20s. You can,
Yeah.
Jesus, you can be 19 and be financially wealthy. And
Right.
independent.
Absolutely, if you
Right.
do it right.
By
So
the examples
this is
you're
a lot
setting.
of great tips. And reality is not. I would say it's not hard to do. If
Right.
you align yourself with the right people that are educated and know what they're doing, it's not hard, right? If you don't, then it is hard. Everything is hard. Surfing is hard, but I see other people do it and they do it like nothing, right? Skateboarding is hard for me. I don't know how to skateboard, you know? I mean, but investing, it's easy for me because it's something that I do consistently, right? So what you do consistently is you kind of repeat it over and over, and it
Yeah.
becomes a consistent.
You become a natural.
Yeah, it becomes natural.
What's the old slogan? I'm trying to make sure I say it correctly. Don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's with Jim
Yes.
Rohns.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, right. Yeah, because a lot of people, we all complain and complain. So, I'll end it with this, right? There was a gentleman I was listening to on a podcast, and he was saying, I guess he was practicing kung fu or jiu-jitsu or something like that, right? And then he's a white belt. Right, and then these other guys got the black belt and stuff like that.
I think I know
and
what you're
then the
saying.
guy told him, he looked at his white belt.
That's
he
the
says,
hardest one.
He said that's the hardest one to get.
Yes.
So he looked at him with this confused face, like, what are you talking about? White belt's the hardest belt. He's like, yeah, because showing up is the hardest part, right?
Yes.
In whatever practice you fall into, and being consistent.
Yes.
Right. But then once you become consistent and you're there every day, then you go into a different belt and you start to elevate yourself to a whole different level.
Right.
And it's the same thing with investing in anything in life, right? But we're talking about
Anything.
investing in real
Yeah.
estate, right? It's the same thing. You start somewhere, right? That white belt. Then later on, you become a black belt, right? I think I'm a black belt right now. I'm a black belt. Don't mess with me, brother.
love the hands,
Don't mess.
I don't know
I'm
what's
ready.
going
I'm
on, but
ready,
Johnny's
bro. I'm ready some Bruce Lee, brother. I'm ready. But listen, so and the reason why I say that, because I take that experience with that auction property.
Yes.
I went in 5 minutes, I was able to tell how much money I was going to spend. And I did not go over my budget. It was right on point. And I made my money, right? So, and then the guy calls me up, and then, the guy was probably a yellow belt, you know what I mean? Chopped him up, he called the Kung Fu master.
So for me, I'm a white belt right now.
No, you're not a white- you got a black belt.
White belt, because I'm trying to wake up at 5:30
okay.
every morning. Josh is a black belt because he's been doing this for some time now. So I'm trying to learn from him,
yeah.
waking up at 5:30 in the morning and working out.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, listen, consistency is always key with anything that you do.
Discipline.
Yeah, and discipline, right? Absolutely. Well, guys, we're gonna wrap it up here. I don't know if you guys
Yes.
have anything else you guys
No,
want to share with the
thank
You
public.
can go on and on.
Yeah,
Yes,
I know.
yes.
Well,
Another
guys,
episode.
listen, we're here. We're excited, and we're happy that you guys took the time to listen to us. And we always want you guys to comment and share this with other people who might be interested in this. And reach out to us, guys. If you're interested in investing, learning some stuff, connecting with private lenders, or anything in that nature, reach out to us. We have all the resources. We're well connected, and we can help you guys take your investment career to the next level. All right, guys. Well, thank you. Real Estate Talk today. Jeff Infante, Josh DeBassard, and Jenny Clemens. Till next time. Take care.